Good morning, everybody. It's Merritt with Master of One Coaching, and we are live this morning for Leadership Live Fridays. I'm so happy to be here with you all. So just a quick housekeeping moment here. I am so excited that I got a brand new computer this week, and it's been super fun to deal with all of that. And I really enjoy that process of integrating and all that. And also, it has thrown me a couple of curveballs, and one of them is that I didn't anticipate having to re-sign in on my streaming platform and have to kind of make all of that happen in a different way this morning. So I apologize for that. We are not coming to you live on Master of One Coaching or on YouTube this morning, but I will definitely post the replays up there in the edited version. So I'm doing a little bit of guerrilla living this morning. And so I'm just going to ask you to bear with me a little bit, as it's going to be a little less polished than normal, if we can say that it's polished. Okay, so I did mention that we are going to talk about overwhelm today, and I'm super excited about that. And so overwhelm is a multifaceted experience, and it seems very complicated in many respects, but actually it is not neurologically that complicated. And so what do I mean by that? Well, what happens in overwhelm is that we take on too many different factors, and it just tends to kind of seize our brain up. And we start to panic because it starts to feel like a threat. It starts to feel like we can't handle it all. And so what do we do when we feel threatened? What does our brain do? We either fight, we want to flee, right? Or we freeze. And that is really the essential experience of overwhelm. So let's talk about some ways in which we can deal with that. All right, so the number one is, well, first of all, I would love to hear a little bit more about how you all are dealing with overwhelm. And I'm going to actually come onto my computer here and see myself live so that I can see some questions, since I'm not doing my StreamYard here this morning. So if you have any questions about this, I would love to see what they are. And again, for those of you who are just joining me, I apologize for the technical difficulties. I did get a beautiful new computer, and I am excited about it, and I just didn't anticipate some of the changes I would have to make this morning. But anyway, now I'm on my computer too, and I can see the comments if you want to bring them up. Or if anybody wants to join me live, that would be great too. But let's talk a little bit more about overwhelm. All right, so this is the number one thing I hear from my clients over and over and over again. Now, if you are one of my clients, this is what you look like. You are smart. You are incredibly dedicated. You are ambitious. You are wanting to make a real difference in the world and use your gifts to change and transform the world in some profound, meaningful way. You are wanting to lead others in doing the same. You are wanting to leave your mark on the world in a way that feels like you left it better than you found it. You also might have had a brilliant idea, and you are excited about executing that idea. You are excited about seeing it come to fruition, and you are so inspired. You are creative, you are motivated, you've got all kinds of energy. And then, because you have all this energy and all this wonderful stuff going on, you are laser focused on making it happen. And that's attractive to other people. Other people want to come and be a part of that energy with you. They see what you believe in. They see what you're accomplishing, and it's really exciting for other people. So guess what? They want to join you, and they do. And before too long, you find yourself with a team. Now, maybe it's a widget or some sort of thing you're manufacturing that you're bringing in, something to bring to market that will help change the way people do business. I always use the example of 4Ocean, which is where I have my generosity goals as an entrepreneur. Much of my generosity goals are directed at 4Ocean, because I am, out of all the issues that I'm passionate about, making sure that the ocean is clean and and well and healthy again is probably my top priority. So 4Ocean is a wonderful organization. They're a B Corp and they do great work around cleaning up plastic out of the ocean and then repurposing that plastic for other uses so we can make it be more sustainable in the world. So let's say you're 4Ocean and you are all about this service of cleaning up the ocean, getting plastic out of the ocean, and then you also take that and you turn it into a product, right? And so their first product, I'm not sure it was the first one, but their most popular one is a bracelet, and they have themed bracelets. So let's say you're 4Ocean and you're coming to bring this process of pulling the plastics out of the ocean and you're turning the plastics into a bracelet so that you can create your campaign and bring more awareness and education to the world about taking plastic out of the ocean. That sounds awesome, right? There's so many millions of people who can get behind that. And that's amazing. Okay, so what happens when you have this great idea and it starts to take flight? Well, you have your team that starts to be pulled around you. And all of a sudden, maybe you are at the helm of a ship that you didn't anticipate being at the helm of. You are, all of a sudden, you are a leader. You are in charge of not just getting this bracelet to market and not even just in charge of the service of pulling the plastic out of the ocean, but now you're in charge of leading a whole team of people to that end. And now you're responsible in large part for their well-being, for their income, for their family's sustainability, for their family's well-being. That's a very different place to be than having a great idea about taking plastic out of the ocean, right? It's a very different place. So how do you handle becoming that leader who is responsible for the well-being of the people who you're leading and their families? And also, now that you're stepping into this arena of this incredible mission that you've created for yourself, how do you keep that going so that you can see that mission through in a way that is truly beneficial in the most amazing and maximizing the potential of that mission, which was really endless, the potential of that mission, right? Okay, now that all feels really great in many respects, a dream come true, right? And also, what happens when things start to get complicated? Maybe your crews don't show up the way they're supposed to. Maybe you have a project manager who didn't do the best job, or maybe there was just a miscommunication. That's funny. So maybe that was the problem. Maybe it's a matter of there's too many cooks in the kitchen. Maybe there's too many projects happening at once and not enough people managing them. Maybe you feel like because it's your vision, you want to make sure it's done the way you believe it should be done or could be done in your head. You are not willing to let go of some of the details. And this is what I see a lot. I see a ton of really passionate, inspired, brilliant leaders who are really struggling with letting go of some of the control. Not because they're control freaks, but because they want to make sure it's done in the most excellent way possible, right? And they have a hard time communicating what's in their brain to people who are taking that ball and running with it. And also, by the way, it takes a tremendous amount of time and wherewithal to communicate those plans. So maybe some of you out there are parents, right? I'm sure you experience, if you're a parent, you might have experienced the feeling of, oh, well, I could teach my kid how to do this thing, or I could just do it myself or do it for them because it's just going to take a lot less time. Well, sure, it takes a lot less time in that moment to do that thing for your kid or to do that thing for your team. But in the long run, what does that do to you? It makes you responsible for doing all the things because you have not been able to effectively hand them off. And it takes a tremendous amount of time and thought to consider how you want to communicate that so that it will work to the best of the ability of the team. Okay. So just the thought of handing it off can be overwhelming. Being responsible for a team is overwhelming. And then you're carrying all of that on your shoulders, not to mention the weight of whatever the big issue is, the big change you want to make, right? Whether it's just creating a change in your own business, whether it's serving people to the best of your ability, or maybe it's this world-changing, life-changing goal, mission you have. All of that can be overwhelming in and of themselves. And then you add something goes wrong, right? Then you start to have sleepless nights. Then you start to grab the easiest thing to eat because you don't have time to think about taking care of yourself. And then you start to feel bad. Then you might get sick. And then you get sick, you have to take a day off. No one knows what to do without you. And the whole thing comes to a grinding halt. So not only are you overwhelmed by your own circumstances because you don't feel well, or because you're doing too much, or because your family needs you in a certain way, or you just have your mental well-being is compromised, but also now other people are starting to fall short because they don't understand how to run the business without you. Holy overwhelm, right? Then people get upset, then customer service gets jammed up, then your manufacturers or your suppliers or whoever you're sourcing from, they might get frustrated with you, right? Then you have conflict on your hands, and boy, does that turn a brain into overwhelm in a hurry. All of these things can contribute to overwhelm, and it can be even just one of them, or it can be the matrix of overwhelm. Okay, so that's a kind of a painting a picture of a lot of what my clients are going through, and you might have your version of that too. So what do we do? What do we do in this scenario when we are completely overwhelmed? Well, it's going to sound very simple, but the first thing you need to do when your brain kicks into that gear is to calm your nervous system down. I have a friend and colleague who is a therapist, and she talks about being regulated or dysregulated. So if your system is in a state of dysregulation, it really means that you just have to find that homeostasis. You have to find that place of calm again so that you can start to think clearly. So the very first thing to do is super simple. Take a few breaths. It might even feel like I don't have time to breathe. Okay, if you're starting to tell yourself you don't have time to breathe, then you know for sure you are in a state where you need to take care of this piece. So there is a 4-4-4 technique where you can breathe in on 4 count, hold it for a 4 count, and exhale on a 4 count. That's a really good steady one, very simple and very easy. Do that maybe 4 times. Even 1 time would help, but until you find your system regulating again. Now, this is not something that's super like woo-woo out there. This is very practical. This is all about your nervous system coming back into a place where it can handle some stress again, okay? So we're talking neuroscience and physiology right now. All right, so once you have found that place where you can kind of think a little more clearly, and maybe you need to take a walk around the block, that's okay too. If you need to take 20 minutes, a half an hour, if you need to take a 20-minute nap, that's all okay. Because I'm giving you permission right now if you need it. And the permission is, if you are in a state of dysregulation, if you are in a state of feeling like you can't handle it, then that is the number 1 priority, period. It's the number 1 priority. Because if you are leading people and you are not in a good place to do it, then you need to take care of yourself first. And that's it. So, breathing, moving your body, move a muscle, change a thought. Some of you may have heard that before. All right, when you find yourself in a place where you can think a little more clearly, here's the next step. And to be perfectly candid and transparent, I stole this particular next step from Gabby Bernstein. You might know who she is. And I just like the way she puts it. It's very clear and very concise. She refers to this as the choose again method. Now, this presupposes that you understand that you have a choice. We all have choices in how we react and respond. And if you are a client of mine or in my groups or coming to these lives, you'll hear this on a regular basis. We all have choices in how we respond. Even if you don't feel like you do, you do. And if you don't feel like you do, that's because you have patterns that have built in over time, habits and beliefs. And belief is a thought we just keep thinking over and over again. We have patterns that we keep repeating, and we're doing that unconsciously because we haven't interrupted the pattern, okay? So more on that another time. But just, if you haven't heard me say that before, you can hear it now. We all have choices. All right, so the choice is, well, this is the choose again method from Gabby Bernstein. And the method is like this. Once we're in this regulated place, we've calmed down our nervous system, okay? Now, we are in a place where we can make a different choice. And it goes like this. I'm going to gain awareness of where I am. Okay, so I'm going to acknowledge that I'm in a place where I'm a little dysregulated, I'm a little upset, I'm a little overwhelmed, frustrated, whatever it is. I'm going to acknowledge that. I'm just going to let it be without judgment. That's number one. That's the first step. The second step is to forgive. We all do it. We all get into these places where we're feeling frustrated, overwhelmed. It's totally human. Totally human, and it happens to everybody. So we're going to forgive ourselves for getting to that place without judgment. It's not about judging you for being not perfect enough, not good enough, for not being able to handle all of it, because none of us can handle all the things that we try to take on when we are in a position of, especially entrepreneurship and leadership, okay? We by virtue of our ambition, we often just take on too much, and that's okay. It's part of how we learn where our limits are, where our boundaries are. This is how we become a limitless leader, by the way, by acknowledging that we have boundaries, and so we can look at them as places to keep us safe and well-tuned, so that we can then in turn understand that we do not have limits. But if we have boundaries, we are unlimited in our opportunities. Okay, so we've breathed, we have acknowledged where we are, we have forgiven ourselves, and the next step is choosing again. How do we consciously find ways to decide to proceed in a different mindset? I've gotten overwhelmed, I've gotten stressed, I've gotten upset, I've gotten frustrated, maybe I've even shed some tears or had some rage. I've found my way into a more regulated state, and now I'm going to choose how do I want to go forward. Okay, consciously, I'm going to choose that maybe this task in front of me I can put off to another day, maybe tomorrow or next week, and put it on my calendar. And make sure that you're giving yourself a target, right? Okay. Or maybe I make a choice that I need to take more time for myself. Maybe I'm really not feeling well and I need to go take care of myself and spend more time on that. Or maybe I need to find this opportunity now to delegate this task in front of me that is overwhelming me to somebody else, teach them how to do it so they can take it off my plate. When we are overwhelmed, it's not that the little tasks are the things that are overwhelming us. The little tasks are kind of get into our system because we're already putting them on top of the bigger picture. We have a whole business to run. We have a whole movement to share. We have a whole idea that we're driving. And the little tasks, even though they're little, when we pile on all those little tasks, it just becomes too much. And this is where team is really, really important. So maybe we take this as a cue that we need to delegate. Maybe you have a different choice. There's all kinds of different choices that you can have. And if you want some more feedback on that, I'm happy to jump on a call with you. So go ahead and I'll put my link in the comments there in a few minutes, and we can talk about how we can help you find your way to your limitless leadership potential by putting in some boundaries, learning how to delegate, and learning how to prioritize based on your values. All right, so that's the process that I'm preaching about here today, is learning how to bring yourself back into a state of regulation. All right, I hope that's helpful. I think the number one thing I want to say to you today about this is that when we are in leadership positions and we are not fully ourselves, we are not in an optimum state, we have to acknowledge and take ownership of that. Because if we don't, we are, first of all, not being honest to those we are responsible for, and second of all, it's going to bite us in the butt. It's going to get worse. So we need to make sure that we are prioritizing ourselves, our own well-being. I don't mean, this is not a selfish thing. This is not like, well, I need this, and so I'm not going to give it to you. I don't mean that. I mean, in our true integrity as leaders, we are prioritizing our own well-being so that we can be of the highest service. All right. It is 22 after the hour today, and I will put this up on the replay in an edited version in some respects. And maybe I'll come back to this topic another time just so that I can really attend to it properly with all my tech things in place. I hope this is useful for you today. If you are interested in more information about how to become a limitless leader, please go to my website at masterofonecoaching.com. Sign up for our newsletter there, and you'll get regular updates about these lives, all the guests that we have coming on each week, or the topics that we address and deal with. And you will also get tidbits from me, and you will see me interact with my children on a regular basis. Hello, Savon. You want to come say hello to everybody before I sign off?
Hello.
We are all juggling with many, many different aspects of life, right? All right, everybody, have a great weekend. Thanks so much. If overwhelm is getting to you, remember the Choose Again method. Again, that's from Gabby Bernstein. You can check out more of her materials. Remember to breathe and take care of you first so that you can be of your highest service and fulfill your purpose and be a limitless leader. Have a great week.